And one day, those four children are going to find out, because nothing ever goes away on social media, that their mother was tossed naked from a bridge like a piece of trash.
I'll never forget this. Never. Never. Go on with life each day. Try to be strong, but it's just, oh my goodness.
Listen, when a car is found burning on the side of the road and the license plate is just thrown in the woods nearby, that's not an accident. That's somebody trying real hard to hide something. But what they found floating in that river days later, that's when this whole case in Edwards, Mississippi went from bad to absolutely unforgivable. Because the person who was supposed to protect Ebony Owens, he's the same one who made sure she'd never come home.
The town is so small, like this doesn't make sense. Stuff like this don't happen around here. I just hate this for her kids. I hate this for her family, her sisters. I just hate this for everybody. I hate it for the town.
Those words from a neighbor pretty much sum up how a whole community felt when they realized what really happened to 36-year-old Ebony Owens. See, what started as a missing person case in March 2023 turned into something that shook this small Mississippi town to its core. And girl, when I tell you the betrayal runs deep, we're talking about a woman who caught her husband in the worst possible way and paid for it with her life. But let me back up and tell you who Ebony really was, because her story deserves to be told right. Ebony Sharday Owens came into this world on October 13th, 1986, right there in Edwards, Mississippi. Now, when I say Edwards is small, I mean small. We're talking less than 1,000 people, the kind of place where everybody knows your business before you do. But that's exactly the kind of tight-knit community where Ebony thrived. This woman was something else, y'all. She wasn't loud or flashy. Ebony was the type who moved through life with quiet strength. You know those people who just make everything better by being around? That was her. Friends called her their confidant, family leaned on her, and in her neighborhood, honey, she was known as the candy lady. Always had sweets for the kids, always had time to listen, always had a kind word. Ebony found her calling as a nurse. And listen, if you've ever had a nurse who made you feel like you mattered, who treated you with real compassion, that was Ebony's energy every single day. She'd been working at the local hospital for years, and it wasn't just a job for her. This woman genuinely cared about people, genuinely wanted to help heal folks. Her co-workers loved her, patients remembered her, and that caring spirit, it extended to everything she did. But at the center of Ebony's world were her 4 children. Girl, those kids were her everything. She worked her tail off to make sure they had what they needed, to give them the kind of stable, loving home every child deserves. And it wasn't just her kids. Ebony stayed close with her extended family too. She was the type who showed up, who remembered birthdays, who made sure everybody felt loved. Growing up in Edwards, Ebony went to Edwards High School, where she was that student everybody liked but nobody really worried about. Quiet, friendly, the type who did her work and treated people right. She had dreams of helping people, which is exactly what led her to nursing. And honestly, looking at how she lived her life, how she cared for others, it's clear she was born to be a healer. Now, let me tell you about Michael Owens. Ebony married this man when she was young and hopeful, probably thinking they'd build something beautiful together. Michael was 36, same age as Ebony, and for a while there, things seemed like they might work out. But y'all, sometimes the person you think you know, that's not who they really are. Over the years, that marriage started showing cracks. The kind of tension that builds up slowly, the kind of problems that maybe you hope will work themselves out if you just try harder, love more, give more chances. And Ebony, being the caregiver she was, being the type who always wanted to fix things and help people, she tried. Lord knows she tried to keep that family together. But here's the thing about trying to save something that's already broken. Sometimes you're just putting yourself in danger. And what Ebony didn't know was that the man she was trying so hard to make things work with, he was about to betray her in the worst way possible. Because on March 14th, 2023, Ebony's whole world was about to come crashing down in a way that no one, and I mean no one, saw coming. So here we are, March 15th, 2023, Wednesday morning rolls around and something is immediately wrong. Ebony Owens, the woman who never missed work without calling, who stayed in constant contact with her family, who was reliable as sunrise, she's nowhere to be found. Her job is calling, asking where she is. Her family is blowing up her phone, getting nothing but voicemail. And y'all, when somebody who's always present just disappears, that's when you know something serious has happened.
It began when 36-year-old Ebony Owens did not show up to work Wednesday morning. People in the community describe her as a nice, quiet young mom. A neighbor who calls herself a friend of Owens didn't want to appear on camera, but told us she can't believe what happened.
The town is so small, like this doesn't make sense. Stuff like this don't happen around here. I just hate this for her kids. I hate this for her family, her sisters. I just hate this for everybody. I hate it for the town.
Girl, you can hear the disbelief in that woman's voice. Because Edwards, Mississippi isn't the kind of place where people just vanish. Everybody knows everybody. And when someone goes missing, the whole community feels it. By Thursday, March 16th, Ebony's family couldn't take it anymore. They called the police and asked for a welfare check at her home on Edwards Avenue. Around 1:40 in the afternoon, Hinds County deputies pull up to a house that looks normal, too normal. Front door locked, no signs of struggle, everything neat and tidy. But Ebony, still nowhere to be found. And that's when this case started getting real weird real fast. See, while deputies are standing in front of Ebony's quiet house trying to figure out where she could be, technology was about to tell a completely different story. Phone records, GPS data, all that digital evidence we leave behind everywhere we go, it showed that on Tuesday night, March 14th, the last night anybody heard from Ebony, she had been driving her white 2015 Acura TLX way over in Clinton. Now listen, Clinton isn't exactly around the corner from Edwards, and Ebony driving that far from home that late at night without telling a soul, that's not the Ebony her family knew. This woman didn't make moves without letting people know where she was going. But if that wasn't strange enough, what happened next morning was about to turn this whole missing person case into something much darker. 6 a.m. on March 16th, deputies get a call about a car fire on Old Highway 80.
Deputies and Hinds County Fire responded to a vehicle fire on Old Highway 80 near Jones Avenue, which is just minutes west of her residence in the Edwards area.
The make and model of the vehicle was undetermined, but investigators discovered evidence linking the vehicle fire to Owens. Investigators believe the fire was intentional.
Y'all, when they got to that scene, the car was completely engulfed, burned so bad they couldn't even tell what kind of car it was at first. But then somebody decided to search the area around that fire, and that's when they found something that made everybody's blood run cold. A license plate, just thrown in the nearby woods like somebody was trying to get rid of evidence real quick. When they ran that plate, it came back to Ebony's white Acura. Investigators believe the fire was intentional. Now let me pause here because this is where everything changes. This isn't somebody's car breaking down and catching fire. This isn't an accident. Somebody deliberately set Ebony's car on fire and tried to destroy the evidence. And when you're talking about a missing woman whose burned car shows up minutes from her house, that's when you know you're dealing with foul play. The community that was worried about Ebony being missing was now terrified that something terrible had happened to her. And investigators, they knew they were no longer looking for a missing person. They were looking for a victim. With a burning car and a missing woman, law enforcement had to move fast. They put out public appeals asking anybody with information to come forward. But behind the scenes, they were already looking hard at one person, Michael Owens, Ebony's husband. Now, Michael wasn't officially a suspect yet, but he definitely became what they call a person of interest. And when police start calling you a person of interest, honey, that means they're watching your every move. Family members started talking to investigators about the problems in Ebony and Michael's marriage. The tension that had been building, the arguments, the way things had been getting worse between them. Electronic evidence showed Michael had been in contact with Ebony right before she disappeared. And when you put that together with everything else, the picture wasn't looking good for him. But authorities still needed to find Ebony. And based on the evidence they had, based on the timeline and the locations involved, they started focusing their search on the Big Black River.
For another search of the Big Black River after several days of trying to locate the body of an Edwards woman. 12 News' Tia McKenzie has details about some obstacles crew members encountered. Tia?
Byron, Melody, rapid currents, colder temperatures, trees, debris, and a lack of visibility. Crews continue to face challenges as search and rescue and recovery for the body of 36-year-old Ebony Owens resumed today at the Big Black River.
I'm here at the Big Black River, and the case of Ebony Owens has been upgraded from a missing persons case to a investigation. Now, her husband, Michael Owens, is facing a charge of murder and an arson charge.
With all that evidence stacked against him, it was time for Michael to face the music. An arrest warrant was issued, and when detectives showed up at his home in Edwards, they found him right where he belonged, about to be in handcuffs.
36-year-old Michael Owens is now in custody facing multiple charges. He's Ebony Owens' husband. Meantime, a community is in shock. The city of Edwards is a small community with a population just shy of 1,000 residents.
And girl, shock doesn't even begin to cover it. Remember, Edwards is a town where everybody knows everybody. People had seen Michael and Ebony together at community events. They thought they knew this man, thought he was just a regular husband and father trying to make it work like everybody else. The city of Edwards is a small community with a population just shy of 1,000 residents. When news of Michael's arrest spread through town, neighbors couldn't believe it. The man they'd been seeing around town, the guy who seemed like just another community member, he was now facing murder charges. But Ebony's family, they weren't as surprised as everyone else. Her mother later talked about how she'd started noticing signs that the marriage was in trouble. Not enough to think it would end in murder, but enough to worry about her daughter's well-being.
Hey, that ain't no good for me because I'll never forget this. Never. No, you can go on with life each day, try to respond, but it's just so heartbreaking.
Those words from Ebony's family show you the pain that was left behind. This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about a family trying to figure out how to keep going after losing someone who meant everything to them. Michael was taken to the Hinds County Detention Center and held without bond. And while he was sitting in that cell, investigators kept building their case, making sure every detail was locked down tight for trial. But what really happened that night, the truth would come out during Michael's trial, and y'all, when I tell you it was disturbing, I mean it was deeply disturbing. During the trial in September 2025, Michael actually took the stand and testified about what led to Ebony's death. And his version of events, it was about the ultimate betrayal. According to Michael's testimony, he had killed Ebony after she caught him sleeping with her daughter. Let me say that again, her own. Michael claimed that when Ebony discovered this horrific violation happening in her own home, she reached for a gun and he shot her in the head in what he called self-defense.
Like, Michael Owens was overcome with emotion as he was on stand being questioned by prosecution. He even had to remove his glasses as tears came down his face while he talked about how he his wife Ebony Owens in 2023. Michael Owens took the stand, trying to convince the jury he was regretful of his wife, Ebony Owens.
I lost everything. I lost my wife, I lost my kids, I lost my home, I lost my job. I think about it every day.
Those were Michael's words on the stand. But here's what he conveniently left out. He lost all of that because of his own actions. Because he chose to betray his family in the worst way possible, then chose to kill his wife when she discovered the truth. The prosecution wasn't buying Michael's self-defense story, not for 1 second. They presented evidence showing this was premeditated murder. The burned car, the disposal of Ebony's body in the river, all the attempts to destroy evidence, none of that screams heat of the moment or self-defense.
I've got to get a drill so as to remove the tag. True. You said, I've got to get a gas can so as to burn the car. True.
The prosecution painted a picture of a man who knew exactly what he was doing when he decided to eliminate the one person who could expose his crimes. This wasn't about protecting himself from immediate danger. This was about protecting himself from the consequences of his own terrible choices. After days of testimony and evidence, the jury didn't take long to reach their verdict. On September 8, 2025, Michael Owens was convicted of first-degree murder and third-degree arson.
The man accused of murdering his wife in Hinds County in 2023 received his guilty verdict and his sentence today after more than a week of trial.
Judge Faye Peterson called Michael's actions selfish and described the case as deeply troubling. And honestly, those words don't even scratch the surface of how devastating this whole situation was. Michael Owens was sentenced to life in prison for murdering Ebony, plus an additional 3 years for the arson. He'll never walk free again, and that's exactly where he belongs. Ebony Sharday Owens was laid to rest on a Saturday in April 2023 after funeral services at New Horizon Church International in Jackson, Mississippi. The church was packed with people whose lives she had touched. Family, friends, co-workers, community members who remembered her kindness. She was buried at Garden Memorial Park on Highway 49 North in Jackson, in a place as peaceful as the spirit she carried through life. The turnout for her funeral showed just how many people loved and valued this woman. I extend my deepest condolences to Ebony's family and friends. May they find strength in their cherished memories of her and in the love that surrounds them. But here's what I want y'all to remember about this case. Ebony Owens was a healer, a caregiver, a mother who put everyone else first. She deserved to be protected, especially by the man who promised to love and honor her. Instead, she paid the ultimate price for having the courage to confront an unspeakable violation. Her story reminds us that sometimes the people we trust most are capable of the greatest betrayals. It reminds us to believe women when they tell us something is wrong in their relationships. And it reminds us that domestic violence can escalate to murder faster than we ever want to imagine. Ebony's 4 children will have to grow up without their mother because a man chose his own secrets over her life. Her family will always carry the pain of losing her in such a violent way. But her legacy, her kindness, her dedication to helping others, her love for her children, that lives on. Make it make sense how someone can destroy so much good in the world just to protect themselves from facing the truth about who they really are. But that's exactly what Michael Owens did, and that's exactly why he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars where he belongs. Rest in peace, Ebony Owens. Your story has been heard, your life has been honored, and your memory will not be forgotten.